What's up, everyone, and welcome to another Bitcoin market update. In these videos, you will learn how to use technical analysis to forecast price movements in your favorite cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and others. So let's dive into it here with Bitcoin on the monthly time frame. Today, we're going to be talking about support and resistance, the Super Guppy exponential moving average indicator, as well as the pivots. So let's dive into it here on the monthly time frame. So we've set our higher low here on the monthly time frame after our drawdown here in May and June. After setting that higher low, we've appreciated now about 65% off of that low at 28,796. And the higher we get on this push up, the more likely it is that when we come back down, we are going to set a higher low somewhere above this previous low right here. And then it'll be a matter of, can we push the price higher? And I think that, the odds that, the higher we push this up, the better odds we have that we're going to be able to break this to the bull side instead of the bear side. I think it would take a fundamental event for it to break down to the bear side, but anything is possible. If we look at this from a weekly perspective, we can see a couple different things. One is the volume. So if we look at this from a volume perspective, you can see that we've been rising now for the past 4 weeks. And, all of these candles look very good, very bullish. And their confidence is strengthening every week as we continue to rise off of this bottom that we set right here. So we've officially set our low here on the monthly time frame, like we said, and now we're rising up pretty significantly. But if we look at this from a volume perspective, we can see that we're decreasing in bull volume over the past 2 weeks here. So now what I'm interested to see is this week, if we can end up forming some sort of a high here on the weekly time frame and then pull back for a potential buying opportunity for bulls in the coming weeks subsequent to that. Obviously, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only, is not intended as financial advice, so keep that in mind. The other thing to keep in mind is the candle close that we just saw in the weekly time frame here. You can see that the candle body was nice and long with a short upper wick of profit taking. So people are obviously, the whales in the market want this candle to look the way that it looks. And they have been able, the bulls at least, have been able to close this candle with a very nice looking short upper wick, like I said. So we could easily see some continuation this week above this previous high from last week at 48,310. But I think, in my personal opinion, I think that we're starting to get towards the end of at least this first push up. And then we'll have to come down from a higher low. And then if we're to continue higher, then that is when we'll continue higher. But in my opinion, I don't think it's necessarily likely that we just continue skyrocketing, going parabolic without actually pulling back on the weekly time frame at some point. So that's something that I'm watching. The other thing is this pivot level that I was talking about for a few months. We've gotten one candle close above this now. So that increases our likelihood that over the next several, few months, I would say, we could potentially move up to the next pivot up here at the R3, which is at 63,200 roughly. And this is our previous resistance level that kind of impeded us from going higher when we set our all-time high at about 65K. So that'll be the next main level in terms of the pivots indicator. So let's go down to the lower time frames now. If we go to the 3-day, we can see that we're running into this gray resistance level that we've been talking about. This is the main level that I'm keeping an eye on, and you can see that this candle closes in 21 hours. If we end up getting any sort of bearish candlestick here, I would expect a drawdown over the next 3 days subsequent to that to try and form a higher low above the previous low that we set here from August 5th. You can see also that we have this declining bull volume going into this gray zone. People are pricing in the fact that we will likely set a weekly high at some point in the near future, either this week or next week, I would say. That'll be where we kind of have a nice push up, and then thereafter we'll come down again. So from a 3-day perspective, you can see we had this, nice rise, and now we're getting some declining bull volume. Volume is just one indicator, though, so it's important to keep that in mind when we're analyzing price, to not put too much weight on one single indicator. So let's go down to the daily time frame and talk about what we're seeing here. So if we look at this from a daily perspective, something interesting here is the development in price that has not led to a sustained drawdown yet. So if we look at this, we can draw a pattern here, which is called a rising wedge. So this pattern is where you have price action contained in this kind of wedge-like pattern. That's why it's called a pattern. And so this is where price bounces off of the ascending trend line here, and then the trend line below that for the lows is where the price is bouncing off of on this side, and it's contained. So the price is contained within this, within these two trend lines, and if this breaks down to the downside, we could see a pretty significant drawdown, but we haven't done that yet. So we could still see this push up into this red zone and be right near where that trend line is as well. So that's something that I'm keeping an eye on. And we're also seeing the RSI kind of mirror this with these lower highs every time we're setting these highs. And so although we're rising in price, the RSI is telling us we're weakening in strength on every rise. And so that's important to recognize that, we're getting weaker. So although the price is still going up, it's getting weaker with every push up on the daily time frame, and we're going into some strong untested daily resistance as well. So that's something that those factors make me think that this daily resistance level here from May 14th will likely hold for the first test, but anything is possible, obviously. But this is something that I'm keeping an eye on. So this level is from our bear trend here, where we had a high, low, lower high, and then lower low pattern. So this last candle where people were buying the asset is going to be our resistance zone, because once they see the confirmed bear trend and we return to that level, that gives them an opportunity to sell their Bitcoin. And so we'll see how price reacts to that resistance level, folks. But the level that it did just react to was the level that I pointed out yesterday, potentially forming if we got a candle close above the key high. Well, actually, I think, we were talking about this on yesterday's candle, saying that if we get a candle close above this key high at 46,790, this candle will end up turning into a support zone, and you can see that right here. We go right into that, and we get this nice bounce off of that zone. So this area that was resistance for price initially. So we came into it here, we rose, we had a sell-off right here. So we pushed into this kind of horizontal level right here, and then we had a sell-off, and then we pushed above that horizontal, and we closed 2 candlesticks above it. So now that we've done that, we've validated it that we've moved past that horizontal level. Now we've moved past it, right? So now when we return to that, it's support. So we go into it here, boom, we get a nice bounce off of that level. So one way you can play this is by putting a bid on the body of the candle right here. So we get a nice bid in there if we were to use that strategy, and you can see that we drew down barely into that level. People bought the dip, and then you can see that we've risen already over 5% on spot since that point. So good support level there for the bulls, good continuation for the bulls, and we're pushing into that gray zone. If we look at the super guppy indicator on the daily time frame, we're every day that we continue this trend higher, we are further setting up these EMAs to flip to be bullish. We're probably only a couple days away. This week will probably be the week where these EMAs flip to be bullish, and then once they do, once these lower EMAs turn green, then we have a valid bull trend on this indicator. Obviously, we already have a valid bull trend in terms of the price action, but we have a valid bull trend now on the Super Guppy once these lower EMAs, the longer term EMAs, flip to be green. So that should probably happen over the next coming days. And then that is an area for potential buying opportunity on a first test if we come down to that zone. And that'll continue to rise as price rises. So these EMAs will continue to rise, just like these ones continued to draw down as we went lower. So if we look at the lower time frames, from a 12-hour perspective, you can see that we pushed right above these key highs right here, and then we came down. I'm just looking at, okay. We came down, we formed a higher low, and now we're coming up again. So now what I want to see here is, can the bulls come up past this high from August 14th and close two 12-hour candlesticks above that high? If they do, this black candlestick right here will end up turning into a support zone for price. If we go down to the 8-hour, we can see that gray zone right here, this is our main support zone in this area, and the reason for that is because of this price action right here. So we had our bear trend, a high, low, lower high right here, and then lower low with two candle closes below this key low, and then we pushed right above this zone here. So now, because of that, we retested here. We have a little bit of a bounce. We retested again, and we're bouncing off it a second time. So if we go below this zone at some point and close two 8-hour candlesticks below it, we almost did right here, then this will turn into a resistance zone for price. But we're kind of a distance away from that now, so nothing to really worry about until we probably go into this red resistance zone. If we turn on the pivots indicators, you can see that the resistance zone, the closest resistance zone is the R1 up at about 49,300 inside of that red daily resistance zone. And then the pivot indicator, the pivot level itself down here at about 46K inside of that 8-hour level. So those are the levels that I'm currently watching on Bitcoin and the other technical indicators that I'm watching as well. If you like this video, give it a like down below and subscribe for future educational content around cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. I hope that it was helpful for you in learning how to analyze price action yourself. If you'd like to see something addressed in one of the future videos, leave a comment down below talking about what you would like me to cover. And until next time, check out our beginner technical analysis course that we released on Leutheria.com. This is where you can learn all of the foundational elements you need to get started trading these crypto assets with precision and accuracy. We lay out things like candlestick analysis, volume analysis, trend analysis, and a ton of other stuff as well. So check that out and get 20% off your course using the link in the description below. And until tomorrow, onward and upward.